Welcome back to the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino. This week I'm joined by James and Brydo as we once again cover all things Celtic. Brydo, massive week ahead for the club in terms of the Champions League playoff. How are you feeling about it all?
Yeah, I feel positive. More positive than maybe we have been of the last wee while. I think it's time just to focus on the football. Forget transfers in before that on Tuesday night. They can add to the squad, then great. But the players that are playing at the minute, you've got to commend them, I think. I think they've done very well in all the games. And therefore, we've just got to give them their backing. And to do that, we've got to try and remain positive for the task in hand. And that is obviously a big game on Wednesday night.
Yeah. James, just to declare it early, we are not going to repeat last week's show and the week before that and the week before that. We've kind of been there, done that in terms of moaning about the transfer situation. At the end of the day, we can't really do much to influence that or change that. It is what it is. It seems clear the club have set out to do we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see if we qualify. And by all accounts, there's 3 or 4 deals ready to trigger the moment the penny drops that we're hopefully into the Champions League stage. So we'll leave that where it is. We'll look at the positives, we'll look at what's happening. There's some good stuff from Friday night. A big game to look forward to, an exciting one to look forward to on Wednesday. What's your own take on things just now?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thrill of the gamble. We're in it now. So, I mean, for the last maybe week, 10 days, I've just forgotten all about transfer stuff because it was just clear we weren't going to do anything till after. So what's the point? And I do think most of the stuff you hear on transfer rumours is 80% agent-led and nothing to do with Celtic, and it won't ever be. So I've just been quite relaxed about that because nothing's going to happen for another 10 days or so, if. So, yeah, I mean, I thought Friday night they showed a lot of urgency, and it's good to see, you're right, Brian, the first couple of games, they've just got on with the job and stuff. I'd say they were a wee bit kind of like perfunctory performances. They weren't the most thrilling, but Friday they came out of the traps fast, and there's a wee bit of squad competition in there. That helps, just add a wee bit of fuel to that situation. I thought they were good. It was a good game. Falkirk came out to play football as well, and now we're on the eve of a Champions League qualifier, which we'd rather not have, but it's still exciting to have it.
Yeah, that's what it is, and it's an exciting game to look forward to. We've seen big excitement, no less. You can think back to semi-recent times, James Forrest against Shakhtar Karagandhi. That was a real buzz. And actually, just shortly in the show, we'll revisit some big European experiences and games we've been at and not, but we'll get to that. Brydo, Brendan Rodgers has been quick in recent times to commend the players on what they're doing, because all the noise gets to everybody. We obviously talk about it. It's what we do and it's what fans in general do. But there's no doubt the players are aware of all that noise, and you have to credit them with just getting on with the job at hand. 3 wins out of 3 so far. And let's talk about Friday, because I thought overall an entertaining night. Rare to get Friday night football, 4 goals, lots of good football to enjoy. What was your general take on it? Who stood out for you on the night?
I stood out myself because I was pretty drunk watching it, to be honest. So I had to watch a couple of the highlights to bring it all back. I thought Dane Murray done well. And I just thought as a collective, I thought the Preston 2s and 3s, not there was anybody overly outstanding, but Tierney had another good bit of time in the park. So I genuinely think it was just more the collective for me. So, echo what James was saying there, that it's just the intensity was there, the pressure, like I said, working in packs and really just blowing Falkirk away. Falkirk were struggling with the physicality of stepping up the league. I was watching it with a lot of Falkirk fans, and that's what they were saying. They didn't think they stood a chance, and when the game started, and I think the manager touched on it the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He's saying that's something he says, not first 15, 20 minutes. It's the first 5 minutes, get off and get at them and really set the tone for the rest of the game. And I thought that was quite evident throughout the majority of it. So it was a collective more than individuals for me. But Dane Murray, I thought, again, he's impressed in most of the games he's played.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Dane just shortly in terms of where he's at, Celtic-wise. Just to explain for anyone who doesn't know, Brydo is from Falkirk, just in case they thought he was going behind the wall into enemy territory to find out what's going on. So that's why he was watching with some Falkirk fans. James, various standouts. Alistair Johnson got man of the match in stadium, and from Michael Stewart. KT done well. That's his 2nd assist in 3 games. Murray done well. Let's touch quickly or briefly on Arne Engels. I thought a good game. I thought his set pieces were dynamite. Some people still not sure. And there's obviously bigger challenges in Falkirk, but a step back in the right direction with his first start of the season.
I mean, I'm a long-time admirer of Engels. I think he's a great player. At 21 years old, Rodgers had to come out and defend him, which is, I really don't get it. Like, he's never done enough to be in the right, he's not good enough category for me anyway. I think he can do more, and I think he will do more. His dead ball stuff is, I think everyone's on board with that, right? So it's more when the ball's in play. And he's developing, he's got the physicality we need. I mean, he's a guy that played in Germany against Bayern Munich for us and just didn't look out of place. And I think that's one thing you've got to keep at the back of your mind. But there's, he's good friends with Celtic first. He's kind of just about done with him and stuff. So
Miff wasn't sure either.
Yeah. So, and I get it, you've got to do more, but you've got to take that price tag off him. That is board mismanagement or negotiation mismanagement rather than putting it on the player's head. So I think he's a cracking player, and I think it's only a matter of time before he just starts to stamp his authority on the team.
Yeah, his set pieces were spot on. He set up the goal, of course, for Dane Murray. He's cracked the post with another really good effort. So I think it's a good game for his confidence and some others just to find their feet again, because you can't generally hit the ground running on match day one, but it's about getting up to speed and peaking at the right times. A goal for Maeda. Good to see him with a smile back on his face. Yang involved for the own goal. Can I credit Yang for the goal?
I give him credit.
Yeah. You'd mentioned it in the post-match. It's when you're 1 down, you want Yang to do something.
It was somebody had said to us, it was a typical Yang performance, coming on at 2-3-0 up when the pressure's not there. It's different doing that than coming on against Villa, for example, or a cup final, for example, where he failed. We'll move on from Yang for now. Brydo, let's again touch on a guy who is just not your favourite, and who I think, I've got to be honest here, I think he missed an opportunity on Friday night, and that's Johnny Kenny. You're not going to get many chances to be Celtic's number 9 at any time in Celtic history, no matter what we're doing, how well we're doing or not. And Johnny Kenny got one of those rare opportunities on Friday night, leading the line, a busy Celtic Park, a decent occasion to go and do so. And I think he failed. I've got to be honest with you. I like him. I like his endeavour. I think he failed. You're fairly strong in your opinions. Where are you at on it?
Yeah, I just don't think he's good enough. I just don't think he's going to be good enough. Don't mean any harm to the boy or anything.
It just feels personal.
I've never met Johnny, and I'm sure he's a nice chap, but it just, when I'm looking at it, as I see that he's got the endeavour and stuff. I'm not questioning his work rate or anything. It's just the quality. It's just the quality that there's one he had an opportunity to just go at.
Yeah.
And he didn't take it.
Diogo goes across the guy there, and the guy's got to make a decision of taking him or letting him go.
I think I think as a striker, that's natural.
Yeah.
And I just think that over the years, there's also, and it isn't his fault, but there's also, in my lifetime of watching Celtic had a centre forward that scored goals and was essentially our main player, and that's your Larsons, your Hoopers, your Edwards, or Dembele's. He's never anywhere near that. No, he's never going to be. He would be a Tommy Johnson at best. And right now, and by the way, that doesn't let Ida off the hook or anything, because he's had more time and chances than anybody else. So it's not just because it's Johnny Kenny. Ida has had opportunities, and he's also got the price tag. Not his fault. So that position was up for grabs when Kyogo left, and we made a very obvious point that it was Ida's to lose. Ended up being Daisy Maeda that came in and took it, but he can't be in two places at once, and there's a lot of debate. People think, is he better on the left, is he better through the middle? Right now we've not got a choice, which is wrong, but Johnny Kenny just didn't grab it, and it's difficult for him as well. I have to say that, you're in and you're out, and you're in and you're out. He's not really had a run at games, so I'll give him credit, a bit of leeway for that, but I've just, the whole time, there's nothing I've seen from him. With his finishing, his heading, his hold-up play, no.
I would disagree on that point. I've seen bits that I like about Johnny Kenny, but there's not enough. And I suppose, just to be really frank about it all, it is very hard to picture him ever being in Hooper territory, Dembele territory, Edward territory, Lee Griffiths territory, let alone mention somebody like Henrik Larsson. It does feel like he's got a long way to go. And if he does end up being our number 9, and again, there's no ill will to Johnny Kenny, it maybe says more about what the club are doing than him. If the club end up settling for a Johnny Kenny as one of our main strikers, maybe we're going in the wrong direction altogether.
Yeah, I'm more in your camp than Brydo's. I think he's got...
Brydo's a hater.
He is. Hate the haters. He's not got nothing, is the phrase I use on him. I see just enough that there's just something there, but same as you, I thought that was a real disappointment, and he'll be disappointed himself personally.
He will be, no doubt,
on Friday night, because that is the big chance. You're at home, fans are there, it's a lovely night, it's Friday night football, you're probably going to win the game, you're probably going to have a lot of the ball, and when the chances came, he didn't take them. So maybe just the pressure of that. But as well as, the natural skill set of all those players you mentioned there, the natural finishing of a hooper, for example, they had the mentality. And that is harder to teach than the actual football skills. I know.
I would debate that everybody that ends up in the first team or on the fringes of the first team at Celtic has the ability. You need to have ability to get to that level. It's what you do beyond that. It's the mentality that takes you forward into the next bracket, the next phase. And maybe Johnny Kenny's going to fall short there. A couple of other comments just in terms of guys who weren't involved. Anamura, question mark over
what is the point?
What's going to play out with him? Probably a loan spell, but we'll see. I wonder if he comes all the way across to Scotland and ends up at Livy or something and goes, what's that all about? Anyway, we'll see. Callum Osmond, so he played last week with the B team. He scored a goal in a 3-1 win over Clyde. I think he won a penalty as well, something like that. That's fine, but that's not where it's at in terms of what we're looking for from our strikers. So it remains to be seen what he'll do. He's in the European squad at the moment. All going well, we qualify. That might well get shuffled, so we'll see. Another guy there's no place for just yet is Jemai Simpson-Puget. I think we're quite keen to see him. We're quite excited to see what the noise is about.
Need to see him. Absolutely.
But at the moment, there's nothing else doing. Any kind of final comments as we move on from the Falkirk game? I was a wee bit critical of Liam Scales. I thought he could and should have done better for the goal. Go out and engage. I know he's just on the park, but go and shut down. Defenders are so keen in this modern day to come out with the hands behind the backs. And it's like, first and foremost, don't give away a penalty. No, first and foremost, stop the shot, get the block. And I was a wee bit annoyed at that. But listen, overall, let's draw a line under what was a very positive night for Celtic. Good performance, 4 goals. Brendan Rodgers back wearing his tie. Everybody relax.
Off to Firhill.
Yeah, quick one on that. So we face Mark Wilson's Partick Thistle. They put out Scott Brown's Ayr United in the last round, and it's Firhill. I think it's the 20th or 21st of September. With all respect, Celtic should be taking care of business, and you should be in the last 4, Brydo.
Yeah, I mean, as Celtic fans, we expect to be at Hampden semi-finals and finals every year. That's just the way that it should be.
Come up against the high Bs.
Yeah, and by the way, there's a lot of teams playing well just now. So it's not like this as we've seen at the end of last year. Nothing's guaranteed just because we've got more money and we've got so-called better players. So yeah, I think you're right. We'll take care of business at Firhill, and then whoever we get after that will remain to be seen. But the Hearts got put out, didn't they?
St Mirren beat them.
Yeah, so that was a surprise.
Who's your algorithm now?
So yeah, I'd say Hibs and obviously Rangers are floating around.
Were you pleased to avoid Alloa? They looked like they had something about them on Saturday.
I mean, I seen a bit of that game. I thought they done very, very well. You're going to Ibrox or Celtic Park, but again, I speak to a few mates of mine that are Rangers supporters, and I get they kind of put a kind of B team type thing out as well to get players' debuts and stuff, but they're not overly happy with what's happening at their end. But they've had a lot of changes, to be fair to them as well. So
signed 10 players.
I think it's 11 now, is it not? 11. I think it's 11 now.
Anyway, we'll see how it all goes. But Celtic into the quarterfinals. Let's see how we go against Thistle. The Falkirk post-match is now available on our Patreon site. For those who aren't yet familiar with it, Patreon's where our listeners can enjoy even more from us each week, including pre- and post-match shows for every Celtic game, additional special episodes, exclusive articles, and our brilliant members-only Celtic chat community. Check it all out at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. James, I'm going to come to you with a question that's come from somebody in the Patreon community just in the last couple of days. Obviously a huge week ahead in terms of the Champions League stuff against Kairat Almaty, and we'll touch on that just shortly. But Obi-Wan from the Patreon community, I don't think it's his real name, he says, out with Lisbon, what's the one game in Celtic history you wish you'd been at but weren't? And that could go in all sorts of directions. To get the ball rolling, I'll give you a couple that I wished I'd been to in terms of...
I'll win.
You win?
I will win.
Okay, we'll get there shortly. In terms of European stuff, there's a couple that stand out. Lazio away for Olivier Ntcham scores a 95th, 96th minute winner in Rome. Paddy was there with all the boys and stuff like that. It just looked phenomenal. It was a great occasion to watch, but it looked phenomenal to be at. So I missed that one. The other one I missed, and I can't work out why I missed it, was 4-3 against Juventus at Celtic Park under Martin O'Neill, October 2001. Chris Sutton's volley, Larsson getting a double, all sorts of stuff on that night. And I don't know why I missed that one, but I did. But there's a couple that I've missed that I'd like to have been at. Is there anything that jumps out for you, Brydo?
Yeah, there's 2 really. The Nakamura free kick against Man United, I wasn't at that game. I was up in Aberdeen at university, so I missed those games. I'd say the other one would I'd have loved to have went to Anfield on the road to Seville. I think that would have been
John Hartson's goal.
Ah man, that would have just been unbelievable.
I'd booked digs for that game, for the home leg. book digs in Liverpool.
So Celtic are playing against Liverpool in Glasgow,
I'm
and
going to be here telling my portable telly.
you're down in Anfield. Just on that, actually, the Seville run, you made quite a few of the away games, didn't you?
Blackburn, Boavista, something else.
Not Celta Vigo.
No, didn't go to Stuttgart. So just Blackburn, Boavista.
I see a Vigo game's another one.
Yeah. Just
John Hartson as well.
Just in the corner, like, that'd be
Yeah.
all of them.
Some big games. So you seem to have a standout one that you've missed. Go on.
So the Raka one as well. Wasn't it that I was at a wedding in Tipperary, but managed to sneak myself off and catching the telly. Wasn't at the stop in the 10.
Oh.
I worked the door on the nails that night.
Yeah.
Getting called all sorts of names.
And rightly so. That was one of my favourite memories. So but let's move on then to domestic stuff. So we've touched on European. Domestic ones that I would like to or love to have been at. You know, the two that stand out for me: 6-2 against Rangers, Martin O'Neill, the game that changed it all effectively. You know, the starting of the new decade of dominance or
25 years.
Century of dominance so far. So I missed that one, the 6-2 game, for whatever reason. And Love Street 86, albeit I'd have been pretty young at the time, but let's just go with the hypothetical, disregard the age. In terms of just an atmosphere and something to be at, for different reasons, I've been watching some of the highlights from that recently. We obviously scored that team goal, finished off by he who shan't be named and all that kind of stuff. But just who was I chatting? It was chatting with Matt Corr. Matt Corr was in talking about not his new book, David Potter's final book, Celtic in the 80s, and Matt edited that book, and we had a great episode discussing all things 80s. Just a brilliant time in Celtic history, you know, very nostalgic. The centenary season, of course, the Joe Miller Cup final, all those kind of things. But Love Street 86 is bang in that bracket. And it's the moment where, is it Jim Stewart, the goalie?
Yeah.
Who was also former Rangers goalie and became a Rangers goalie coach. He catches the ball at maybe 3-0 at the time, 3 or 4-0 Celtic. And all of a sudden there's a huge roar behind him, and it's the Celtic fans who are all on the wireless, picking up the fact that Albert's kid has scored against Hearts. And the rest is history. That for me is everything Celtic, and I would have just loved to have been there. And you were there. You're there with Dad and Noel Callahan.
Yeah, maybe James. Yeah.
At what age? 9, 8, 9?
I was 9.
Talk us through that.
Oh, just a class day. And you don't, at that age, you don't really understand it like you would understand it now. But it was like, it starts off and it's like you could go up without tickets and just chance your arm and see what you can get. And we managed to pick up tickets, I think, just at the ground. But also quite a funny one was as we're standing at Love Street, these big metal shutters that you used to see at Parkhead as well, and maybe Hampden. And Celtic fans were trying to just get in by hook or by crook, and some guy just chapped the shutter, and I went, I'll open that. And about 100 guys just ran in, so there's 100 extra there. But we were in that section behind Jim Stewart, so Uncle Noel with the tranny radio with the wee earpiece and stuff like that. So he's one of the ones that spread it around. Is just phenomenal. And then myself and my cousin James get sat outside a pub with crisps and ginger for about 6 hours.
There's a bag of crisps and a can of Coke, seeing tours. Brydo, what about yourself? Anything that you feel you've missed out on domestically?
I think I would say it's more similar to you, forgetting the age. It's probably like games that your dad or my papa would ever tell me. But I think and ones that we used to watch on video. I used to just watch reruns of the same game on a video. And the 1988 Cup final,
McAvenny.
I think, see that, and then Tommy Burns talking about it and all that after.
Yeah.
I think
they're there and they're always there.
I'd love to have been at that. And then there's games
we were
to
at
talk
that.
about.
Yeah.
So
first Hampden final?
I'd have been 4. So I was probably drinking by then. But
it's doing Falkirk.
So
a couple of glasses of alcohol.
So I'd say that one, and then there was they used to say the 10 men won the league again. 1979.
That's actually Obi-Wan's own personal answer. 10 men won the league. Celtic won 4-2 after being down to 10 men. John O'Doyle gets sent off. I think Murdo McLeod scores a rocket. Blah, blah, blah. Celtic won 4-2.
It was all about the crowd, apparently. The crowd just stayed with the team. And I think Rangers had 2 games left, but Celtic won the league. They won the league, so it was basically a winner takes all type thing. And so without knowing crazy amounts about it, it's just people talking to me about it. So I'd say those 2 kind of games, but there's probably plenty more.
Okay.
Just to finalise in this section, what would be your all-time favourite game of being at? I'm going to find it hard to beat Stopping the 10, and there's some real highlights for me. And I was at Barcelona when we won and all those kind of things, but Stopping the 10 probably for the 9 years of hot, let's call it 9 years of hot before it, and finally doing that on the last day, all the tension, Wim Jansen Henrik Larsson, Harold Brattbach, all doing their thing. So that was a huge day for me. And my only regret, and it's not a real regret, is that I was in a top tier for it, and I was with our Uncle James, and couldn't get down on the pitch. Everyone made it down on the pitch, and I wasn't able to. So that was just a wee niggle. That aside, an amazing day. So that's definitely a highlight for me. Brydo, is there anything that stands out for you?
Barcelona.
Yeah.
Barcelona. And I tell you the other one as well, most recently was the game 3-0 against Rangers.
That's a massive highlight. That was in February 2022, under the floodlights, Real Hatate, Leah Labada.
Another one I'd liked is, the one that was a terrible game really, but it was when Lennon and McCoist were the replay.
Yeah.
Did Mark
Wilson
Wilson killed Sasa Papac that night. He's still lying there apparently. He's like buried under the goal line.
They had a shame game at the time, wasn't it?
It was just
all that, wasn't it?
they're all very different.
Guerra and all that stuff and Diouf.
The atmospheres were different. Like, so against Barcelona, it was just like clinging on for dear life, hope, just unbelieving. Like, this can't be happening because it's not meant to happen. Because this team were probably one of the best teams that's ever played the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the game under Ange, it was like we need to let them know that we're back, and
It was the reassertion.
100%.
Yeah.
New players getting their first big game, and then the one with Lennon, it was more for, not as much for Lennon as it was for anything else. It was just kind of getting one over Walter Smith and Ali McCoist and whatever else, and then it was pretty spicy, that one, I thought. So it was
spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Any spicy memories for you?
I mean that 3-0, just a few years ago, that immediately after that game you knew you'd seen something special. In fact, before the game you were seeing something special, just the way the atmosphere was building. The whole Ross County stuff with them at the weekend, which gave us a chance. Abada scoring that goal in the last minute against Dundee United, which gave us a chance. And then it all kind of came together. So that's right up there. Boa Vista, I probably would find it hard to talk
Boa Vista away.
Yeah. The
term in the modern game amongst the young team is limbs, isn't it? Oh, limbs everywhere.
Limbs.
It
was the opposite. Everyone just collapsed.
Right.
You weren't really jumped. It was just
exhaustion.
They can all that. But 6-2. It's we are where we are today. You could take it right back to that game. Once we got that nose in front, they were just spending money they didn't have.
For about 3 minutes or something.
Was it Sutton scored first, or was it? Yeah, the back with
he looked
he was on. Farward I played it on.
Yeah. So that's what killed them. They couldn't live with Celtic, so they went out spending money they didn't have. And here we are 25 years later of sheer dominance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question from Obi-Wan, and it's a great one for discussion. So if you're watching or listening, let us know in the comments your own thoughts on that. Your highs, your lows, your ups, your downs, the ones that you were at and the ones you missed. And thanks to Obi-Wan and everyone in the community there on Patreon for continuing to chip in with their suggestions and comments. Let's move on. And as mentioned, it's Kairat Almaty that wait in store on Wednesday night, an 8 o'clock kick-off at Celtic Park. And it's a huge game, Brydo. We know, you'll have seen and read the reports, I'm sure, in recent days that Celtic have never won in Kazakhstan. We've lost 2-0 to Shakhtar Karagandhi. We drew 1 each with Astana in 2016. We get beat 2-1 by Astana in 2017. But ultimately, we've always won out in the end. But it does stress the importance of getting off to a good start and a real positive scoreline on Wednesday night.
It's massive. It's massive if we keep using words like progression and stuff, as does the manager. Well, we can't progress unless we're actually in the tournament. So it's huge. It's huge financially, of course. And what we spend, what we don't spend, will maybe be reliant on that. But yeah, it's such an important game because, well, one, the home legs first, which is a slight disadvantage. If we don't get it right, and we're going there, not having won the game, maybe even only win it by a goal. It's a long way for them to travel and stuff, and I don't know what the temperature's like in these places.
Not too bad.
It's not too bad. But it's just the journey and getting it all right.
It's the journey, it's the heat, it's the time difference.
Yeah.
I think it's a 5-hour time difference.
So we'll just stay on normal clock. They won't change.
I know, but you kind of just go, all right, that's all right. Somebody's telling me it's still the same, but it's no. It's something to adjust.
You're not going doing the shops. You're not going to the water park or anything. Do you know what I mean?
Putting the cinema.
You just stay on clock.
I know, but it's still tricky.
It's private travel out, private travel back.
It's a real thing, is what I'm saying. You can't just say, just tell yourself it's no difference and it'll be fine. There's no bad man in your cupboard. It's all good.
It's got to be a factor, isn't it? It's got something different, and we've got to address it and deal with it. Maybe they're used to it, I don't know, but it's a fairly long trip to go and we need to get it right. And, with the forward line as it is at this minute in time, there is probably a cause of concern for a lot of fans.
You've taken me perfectly to my big question.
Segue.
So I spoke to James Forrest a week or two ago at Celtic Park, and it was just after, oh no, sorry, it wasn't confirmed at that point, but it was looking like Almaty had a chance of going through, as they ultimately did, and he was saying just that. They stayed on the time zone on those occasions, but when they went with Scotland, they didn't. And Scotland got hammered 3-0 by Kazakhstan. I think that was Alec McLeish, maybe.
Imagine Scotland being an absolute shambles.
Aye, who knew? But James Forrest and others know what to expect, and I think that experience, including Brendan Rodgers' own experiences in 2016 and 17, will be vital. But I spoke about Alistair Johnston on the Celtic Exchange Daily this morning because he's not experienced that, and it is something even for experienced players to adjust to. We can talk about all sorts of things and look at them and their form, and we will do that. Myself and Greg, we're going to do a show tomorrow, potentially a live stream actually, if we can get the tech working right. That is more on me than the tech itself, but that's something we'll look to get in place. But for now, just one question for you lads for this show. What is Celtic's front three going to look like? All right, there's a number of options, but it's probably the biggest area of concern. I think it's fair to say that. We're pretty happy with the goal of the defence and the options that we've got in midfield, but Celtic are going to have to pick any three from the following players: Adam Idah, Daisen Maeda, James Forrest, Yang, Johnny Kenny, easy now, Shin Yamada, Callum Osmond, very unlikely, and even Benjamin Negren, who's been pushed up, further high on the right-hand side in different times. James, where are you at, first of all? Have you got a clear three in your head, or are you unsure what the manager will do? What would you like him to do?
Can Daisen be two of them?
I mean, he plays like two of them, but unfortunately not.
I don't think we have the depth in the wings that you can take Daisen off of that brief. I think that's the problem. But also, if I was given a free choice, who's my best striker at the moment, it's probably still Daisen Maeda. I don't think anyone has shown anything better than what he showed us closing out last season. But you can't, 2-1 doesn't go and all that stuff. So I think I have to keep him out in the wing. I think if just sensible heads prevail here, what Rodgers will do is he'll put Daisen in the wing on the left, he'll put Idah up top, and Jamesy probably on the right.
I don't want to revisit this in a negative way, but James Forrest starting a qualifier for us can't be right. With every respect to James, who's still got a whole lot to offer this Celtic side, by the way. But
starting games.
Starting games is a very different thing from having an impact off the bench, and dress it up however you want. We're dicing Brydo in terms of gambling on that being the case. But do you agree with that? I think I'm there or thereabouts. Is it almost straightforward that it is Maeda, Idah, and James Forrest, but it leaves you serious questions if you do need to change that at any point. Anybody at any time can get injured. 5 minutes in, somebody could go down, and then you're in trouble. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's one of these questions like, what would you want yourself, but what do you think
will
the
happen
manager will do?
Yeah.
Right now, I would play Daisen through the middle.
Who's your left winger?
I'd play Negren and Forrest. I'd play Negren and
both probably stronger on the right.
Probably, but I think Daisen over Idah.
You end up chasing your tail to get Daisen in the middle. You end up chasing your tail to fill that.
But I think if you put, like, say, Negren or Forrest on Negren on the left, then he'll ultimately come inside a lot more. He's played both wing positions, I believe.
I suppose he's KT a wee bit.
But I think it allows. Well, I think we'll have most of the ball, and I think it allows actually create space for KT to go forward.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. So San Fran Celtic, good friend of the show, said in the comments that he'd like to see Celtic with an aggressive lineup, and I think it has to be like that. We can't take them on at Celtic Park and be too wary of what they might bring to the party.
Yeah.
We need to go.
You need the numbers.
I'm not saying go hell for leather, but Celtic need to go out aggressively. And the real target, he'll never say this out loud, but Brendan Rodgers is probably saying 3-0 minimum is what I'm hoping for here.
Yeah.
Because 1-0 is very nervy, 2-0 is not great, 3-0 gives you that wee bit of comfort, and actually he'll be hoping for 3 or 4 at least. And I think
2-0 lose a goal in the first 5 minutes over there, and it's nerves everywhere.
Yeah, I do not fancy that.
You've seen last week Rangers with 3-0 up, and then
nearly.
all of a sudden, and they're not travelling 9 hours or whatever.
Yeah, a goal or two can change it. But yeah, that aside, I think, let's say any 3 from 4 then out of Daisen, Adam Idah, James Forrest, and Negren.
I think he will play Daisen, Idah, and Forrest.
All right, you're saying that you might.
I think he will play that because I think he's rested the players that he's going to play as well from Friday night.
And is there a part to play then for Yang, Kenny, Yamada? I'm going to leave Osmond out, right? Because he can't feature. He's not in the equation just now. So Yang, Kenny, and Yamada.
Yeah, I think you have to see Yang because James is not going to finish 90 minutes, or certainly shouldn't be.
No.
So Yang's more likely to come on in the right, but then you probably have to sweat Daisen in the left for the whole game. I don't really see anything. Don't really like the kind of the Gren coming on and getting shuffled out to the wing, which has been happening more and more. You end up with Yang in the left and the Gren in the right, which actually, as you think about it, is probably more likely than not. I think Yamada's probably get something to play in the last 20 minutes. But come on and get us a couple of goals.
Yeah, it's interesting because Brendan Rodgers often says the team that finishes the game in the modern day can be almost, and I would say not quite, but almost as important as the team that starts. Because, you could go 2-3 up in the first half, but if you then, start playing guys that are weaker and lose a goal or two, it leaves you in real bother. So I think that's the biggest call. I think the defence generally picks itself. Maybe left centre half is a question, Scales v Trusty, whatever. Midfield three is going to be Callum McGregor, Hatate, and one other, and it's maybe Negren if he's not.
Maybe Engel.
Maybe.
That's a good thing about having somebody the quality of Engels there, is that you're not then.
Yeah, you're not downgrading.
You're not downgrading in that position. We're quite strong in the midfield, so that should be fine. There's no question marks or concerns around that. But I do agree. You're then kind of going, well, would that make us weaker on the left or whatever? We don't know how this team play either. I don't really know. So if they're sitting in deep, then the ground playing or somebody who's maybe going to cut inside more and leave more space for somebody else. Tactically, it would actually work not bad, but there's more questions than answers.
Yeah. Between now and tomorrow, I'll be looking into it a lot more in terms of how they play, what they've been doing, personnel. They also happen to have, as Celtic often come up against, a wonder kid who's about to make his move into Europe. They've got a 16-year-old. I'm sure he scored a penalty in the first game against Slovan Bratislava, and apparently he's going to sign for Chelsea for 50 odd million. We seem to get them.
We came up against Wirtz in that regard.
Wirtz.
He just burst through it. Who's Leverkusen, was it?
And who's the guy at Shakhtar? Is it Donetsk that we played against that went to Chelsea? He's not really done it. I'm talking about the pacey winger. Scored against us.
Or something?
No, Mudryk.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Absolutely tore us apart.
Yeah.
We seem to sometimes land on these guys, whereas, and I'm not greeting about it too much, but Rangers seem to get teams just after they've sold their £50 million striker.
He's broke his leg
or Erling Haaland misses games through injury. I don't know. I'm just being better. Let's move on. They lost 3-2 at the weekend, Almaty. I think they were 2-1 up and lost 2 late goals. That'll be frustration, and it should give Celtic confidence that they're there to be got at. And I think Celtic will and should come out the traps on Wednesday. As I say, we'll be covering it in more detail, myself and Greg, tomorrow. It's looking like a sellout, so it should be a real good occasion at Celtic Park. I'll confirm in the chat and the comments as to what time we'll be putting the show out tomorrow. Moving on, we've mentioned him a couple of times, and rightly so. Dane Murray, big day for him on Friday. Extends his Celtic deal, so he's now going to be here till 2028, and scores his first ever Celtic goal. It's dream stuff for a kid, James, who's been at Celtic since 6 years of age.
Yeah, I think it's all starting to come together for him. I really think he's got what it takes. Certainly what he's shown so far. Got what it takes to be understudy to Carter Vickers. I don't think he should be going out on loan. A lot of fans think he could just do with that, extra 6 or 12 months of development at a seniorish team, a Hibs Aberdeen type rather than a Ayr United, no harm to them and stuff, but something in the SPFL.
Somebody made the comment that there was a sticking block. There was a suggestion he was going to go back to the Championship, and Celtic felt that was no longer the level.
Yeah, he's past
if
that.
He was to go out on loan, and that's still a question mark, maybe it should be Aberdeen, Hibs, somebody like that.
Yeah. I think that's, the lowest level he should go again, no disrespect, as disrespectful as that sounds. I just think he's really developed. The thing is, he's taken instruction. Over the summer, he was obviously told, here's your markers you need to be hitting physically to be even considered. Yep. And he's done them all. So that just shows a good attitude. You see some players that don't do that and maybe don't ever do that. But the fact that he's following instruction and he's shown a commitment to his craft. So I think he will be for the season ahead, Vickers understudy, which we know, presents opportunities through the season. Vickers has to manage his injuries and all these kind of things. He keeps Celtic ticking more than maybe any other defender coming out with the ball. He's so fast, he's good thinking, he knows where he needs to be. I think he's still raw enough that he's got a bit of a rick in him every few games, and that's something to be polished out of his game. But yeah, I'm really excited for him for the future.
Brydo, he's a big, powerful boy. He's 6'4". As James said, it looked like he's filled out even further over the summer. He's in good shape, and this is his Celtic crossroads. He's obviously signed the deal, which gives him a bit of security. But the question is now, and James has touched on it, is he ready to be back up or even better to Carter Vickers this season? Could he get some serious minutes?
I really hope so. Not at the expense of Carter Vickers being injured, obviously, but there's periods in games where we can start protecting players like Carter Vickers and Callum McGregor. Tierney's a good example. So we don't push them too far, too hard, that they end up missing full games. But when we're replacing these guys, we need to have confidence in the players that are coming in one, are good enough, and two, aren't going to be overawed by the opportunity, which we've seen in the forward positions. That seems to be happening with Ida and Kenny and whoever else. But with this young guy coming in, he knows what Celtic's all about, obviously. He is obviously thought of quite highly by the manager. We touched on that in the show, I think, last week, that he was going to play the Celtic Rangers game, but he got an injury. Then he got thrown in at Aston Villa. Made a mistake. But like we said, I think he'll learn more from that than he probably would learn if he didn't make the mistake.
Yep.
I just think his attributes really, really suit the way we play. It suits the way the manager plays. And that physicality where he gets his goal against Falkirk on Friday, don't see that often in our team as a threat. So if you get Engels delivery and somebody who's
on it.
And he wasn't like, I'm lucky to be here, I'm just this young guy getting a chance. He's get the contract, he must be on absolute cloud nine, and he's attacking that ball with purpose, and he's really,
as he should,
men hit the road exactly as he should, and using his attributes. But yeah, I think the future's really, really bright for him, and it should be bright for us. And I think it's long overdue that we've got a player coming through that we can kind of say that's what our youth academy is producing. I don't want him to go anywhere else on loan.
Yeah,
the same.
Absolutely not. I think that's been done. 22?
22.
22.
23 in September.
Yeah, and certainly not to the Championship. He's I wouldn't even apologise and say he's way above that level. He's miles ahead of that level. So Carter Vickers, I don't know how old Carter Vickers is, but his time will come when he leaves, and we need to have somebody who's fit and ready, and only get ready when they've been exposed to Celtic Rangers games, tough games at Tynecastle, European games, things like that. In those moments, he needs to be exposed, and we need to be, as fans, ready for him to maybe make a mistake or not, but keep supporting him, because otherwise they'll never get the chance. That's why when we signed the Pussy from Man City on loan without the option to buy, I was like, okay, I dare say he's a really good talent. I'm hoping that's because he's playing on the left-hand side, which I believe he does play, but he's right-footed, so I'm like, I don't know how that works. I just don't hope it isn't another obstacle that Dane Murray has to overcome, because
I don't think so.
I would hope not. I'd really, really hope not.
I think he's here because it's a glaring problem.
There's a few questions about Tuesday coming in, but ultimately, above all else, it gives the manager options. He might play a whole bundle of games, he might play very little, but the manager's got the choice now whether he chooses to play him. So what we've got, I think, any two from Carter Vickers, Dane Murray, Trusty, Skills, and let's call Pusey JSP.
I think so, for Brian's sake.
So we'll battle through that.
What's new Pussycat?
Stephen Welsh, I hope Celtic let him go to further his career. I hope we're not keeping him around for homegrown UEFA requirements or anything of that level. But yeah, from Dane Murray's point of view, I just think, I think Celtic and Celtic's academy, more strictly speaking, they need a new poster boy. It can't continue to be Calmack and Jamesy Forrest and KT and stuff, phenomenal as they've been for Celtic, and Tony Ralston to an extent, who's forged out a good career at Celtic and a great pro. They need a new guy. They need a guy who's closer to 20 than 30, somebody that they can genuinely relate to and say, oh, Big Dane used to train with us, all that kind of stuff. And I think there's a real potential for him coming through and a lot to get excited about. James, just in terms of, I mentioned the UEFA situation there, and I wonder how that's now going to play for Celtic. So we know the requirements of your 25-man squad is that at least 4 need to be Celtic-trained talents, and we tick that box easily with guys like KT, Jamesy, Calmack, Dane Murray, Tony Ralston, even Ross Doohan, who's come back into the fray, and any other couple of Scottish-trained talents. So I'm thinking Luke McCown is one of them. And I wonder if Stephen Welsh is a guy who's making up the 8th. It's a wee bit...
Well, it's Murray instead of Welsh,
Right, okay.
He makes up the 8th. I think for that reason, I think we just have to do the right thing by Stephen Welsh, and it's not staying at Celtic. I wish Stephen Welsh was, the talent, but he's been around long enough that we've seen enough of him, and he's seen enough of the level that it's just not quite there. And that happens in football sometimes. It's heartbreaking and all that stuff, but he's more than good enough to go and carve out a really solid career elsewhere, and probably bank more money to get at Celtic as well, as the way things go.
And he's lived the dream. He's won titles,
exactly,
he's at Celtic, and I think everyone is really appreciative of Stephen Welsh and what he's brought to the party.
He'll have racked up a lot of games.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of games, and he's played a lot of big games. Whether that's right or wrong, that he's played. Don't get me wrong, I think we can all see that he's not been good enough. He's just not been able to step up to the mark.
Just the level.
But that doesn't make he's a poor player.
Yeah.
And he's not let us down. It's just if we want to progress.
Yep.
Yeah, so the hope is that Welsh might move on. It's strongly rumoured that Plymouth are actually waiting for an answer from Celtic. Celtic are obviously hedging their bets, and that's just how we tend to operate. Are they League One or Championship?
I think they're League One.
And obviously KV Mechelen in Belgium, where he spent time on loan last year, they're also interested by all accounts. Good luck to Stephen Welsh as and when he does move on. I think he will move on this window, and I hope it's a good career from beyond that. But from a Celtic point of view, the hope is that Dane Murray is the new big hope at centre half and that he can kick on. But a massive week for him. Big new contract, first goal for Celtic, dream stuff. We'll finish on a subject that's doing the rounds in Celtic world just now, and it's unfortunately it's not a positive story at all. You weren't at the game on Friday, were you?
No.
We weren't at the game on Friday, so this is from kind of second-hand info, but there was barriers put up within the concourses at Celtic Park in different locations, and I think primarily the reason for these barriers, and you might have seen them, they're big steel, like horrible-looking things. I think primarily they're put up to stop the young team constantly trying to break into the standing section, the Green Brigade section, which, as we know, does happen. We will not name names. We know a young fella, really decent young lad.
I'm going to name him.
Don't name him. Really good young lad that we know who's not got a ticket there, and he's trying to circumvent the restrictions. Has he got a fake rail pass and all that stuff?
No.
We don't know. No. Anyway, there's lots going on. Young team are trying to get in that area, and I understand Celtic need to manage that and police that, and that's not easy. I'm not saying it is. But what they are doing is they're now, let's say, harming other fans by putting up these various barriers. I've seen some different opinions and people voicing their concerns on Twitter and the likes by saying, well, I sit in section, I don't know, 119.
There's 110 and 111 on it, so around there.
111's the real section. So let's take that out of the equation. Whatever. I sit in section A and my pal sits in section B. We usually get a blether before the game. We get a pie and we stick a bet on it, the bookies or whatever, and then we meet again at half time. And this barrier's gone up bang in the middle of these guys. So that instantly has downgraded their match day experience. They would turn up early to meet their mate. Well, there's no point in doing that in the stadium. And at half time, you can't go and catch up with your old pal. And Celtic, of course, it's about football and watching the team and support the team on the park, but it's also hugely emotional, and it's about who you're with at Celtic Park, friends, family, loved ones, all that kind of stuff. So I understand Celtic's need to try and address this situation, but it looks like they've got it wrong.
No, they've got it right, and it's not they're doing, it's the council's doing. They won't get their licence if they're not.
How have they got it right though by separating these other areas?
Celtic won't get the licence to operate the stadium unless they make sure that it's safe, and it's not safe when it's overcrowded. And Glasgow City Council will not issue a licence in an area they know to be unsafe. It's not through any badness or we want to stop your match experience or anything like that. It's the council saying you won't have a licence to show football games.
With a licence last year.
But they've been warnings on this over.
So you think they're right to put up these barriers and stop?
It's not right or wrong. They've no choice in the matter. They have to make sure that section doesn't get overcrowded.
Have you seen this somewhere?
Yes, it's been coming through for over the last 2 years. So it's not like the club's going, right, here's what we'll do to annoy you. And I understand that there's inadvertently it's
is there not a better way to do it? Another way to do it?
Well, how would you do it? Like they've tried for years to stop or discourage.
Can you not just heavily steward the area rather than punish everybody else?
But you're talking, so if you heavily steward it, you might be talking 20 stewards to 4,000 people or 2,000 people or whatever. You're still not going to stop it, you know?
I mean, you could save the money on putting the big barriers up and hire a few extra stewards.
But they've been trying, well, that's capex, opex, you want to get into that, but they've been trying for years to find a way through this, and there's been no solution. So this is very blunt, but it's a necessity. You know, that would be none of us going to see the football and Celtic playing behind closed doors. So do you want that?
I mean, had it got to that extreme level that we were about to...
It can get to that.
It can do, but were we at that level?
Maybe they're just getting
So I'm going to use these two guys as examples. Their match day experience has been obliterated, and that's just the way it has to be.
It's far from... But this isn't... This is fans going and sitting and standing where they don't have tickets for, right? So if you want to look to where the blame lies,
it's a small percentage of it.
It is a small, and I get it. It's typically younger folk that want to go in for the buzz there. I totally get that, and that's I'd probably be trying it myself if I was 14, 16, 18, whatever kind of thing, But that's where the problem originates. So that's where the responsibility needs to be taken. So you can't then just start pointing at Celtic and other areas. Even the council are just doing their job, maybe a wee bit stringent on it. But
feels very heavy-handed and over the top. What else I've seen someday, I think it's Eddie Toner, who's part of the Supporters Association, using the term, it's taking a sledgehammer to crack a walnut. Do you not feel it's a bit like that?
It's heavy until someone has an accident and doesn't get medical aid because of the crowd or whatever. There's a reason these numbers and limits are in place, and it's health and safety, right? You might say it's overbearing, the numbers or whatever kind of thing, but they're in place for a reason. So do we wait till a tragedy happens and then you go, right, we should have done that, we should have done something about that? So you got to see all sides on this, and I don't blame Celtic for it whatsoever because it's not their choice.
I would feel, without being an expert in the matter, that there's a milder solution.
They've been trying these for years.
Heavy measures. What do you think, Brian?
I blame Johnny Kenny.
It's probably Johnny Kenny.
I blame Johnny Kenny.
He's at least had a hand in it somewhere.
There's probably somewhere in between the two arguments. James is
going to sit right on that fence there, Brydo. Is that what you're doing?
Sitting the big metal fence. I don't know. I mean, I think what I would say is that I think it needs to, if it's a short-term measure or whatever, until the feedback comes. But I do think that there has to be a higher priority around the matchday experience for fans and families, and like sometimes for some people it's maybe the only kind of interaction they'll have with other people and
it's
stuff.
part of that matchday experience, not that you're doing it in a safe environment.
No, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you've actually put across, because there's probably people saying, all right, well, that's my job, I need to do that. That's fine. It's then finding the root of the problem and then dealing with it, and then putting something else in place. So I don't know how permanent these barriers look. I've not seen them, but it might be something that they're doing now, and then perhaps they'll loosen it off.
It's also, so I don't want to come across as everything the club does at the moment, and they've done this, and there's a disconnect, and they're missing this, and the banners aren't out the front of the stadium, and all those kind of things. I completely agree. It's a difficult situation, but again, Celtic could help themselves by communicating this better. People have just turned up on Friday night and went, hold on a minute, what's going on here? Apparently there was real heavy-handed stuff going on, and the suggestion is, and I think Celts are here, and I know Craig reasonably well, who runs Celts are here, he's put a few articles on it about the fact that there was stewards who just didn't seem to know what their own remit was, but getting a wee bit aggressive about it at the same time. And had Celtic said in advance on Wednesday, if you're attending the game on Friday, here's what to expect, and here's why. Just explain it, because people are just turning up and going, this big steel blockade is here. And it's
totally agree.
See, on the issue of stewarding, my brother's got a real bugbear with that, and he makes a comment to them every time. So when you're leaving Celtic Park, it's littered with stewards who are actually blocking the
way out.
So he's actually saying, you're causing more of a problem. They're not doing anything. They're not searching anybody. They're not
on the way out.
Yeah, see when you're leaving, and when you're going to do, right? But when you're leaving, like,
they're just there.
They're just there. So
they're always there.
They're there. They're always there. And he was like, so I dare say you've got to have X amount of stewards per number of people at a gig or a game or an event. That's fine, but they're not searching anybody. They're not doing anything.
Yeah. They're not giving directions. They're not even high fiving the kids.
So that's a slightly separate. Slightly different, but the same thing.
You just
I just fling it in there.
I
thought I was on the fence. The other one.
So we've got two issues now. Right, okay.
And I've got no way of resolving.
Typical Celtic.
Yeah, but just to draw a line under it for now, though, as I say, I understand there's a difficult situation for Celtic to deal with, and whatever measures they take, there'll be rationale behind that. Of course there will. But communication, as is
100%,
often, if not always the case, must be better to let people know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
It's not that difficult.
That in itself would stop a lot of the noise.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
People don't like bad surprises.
No.
And that's a bad surprise.
Absolutely not. I feel for these two guys I say over. It's like the Berlin Wall over there.
He made the two of them up just for the podcast.
I think it might have been Davey from Celtic Bars. So Davey was a part of the inspiration behind our CSC Stories series, which I always find tricky to say. But Davey McIntyre wrote the book Celtic Bars, which tells you anywhere in the world you are, here's where you should go and catch the Celtic games. And I'm sure it was him online talking about the fact that he and his mate can no longer chat, which would be sad. Anyway, let's move on. We're starting to round things up. Brydo, any kind of final comments? There's always going to be the ongoing speculation on transfers at this time of year. And when doing a bit of prep for today's show, I just couldn't be bored listening to them again. There's all these names that you could spend all this time and energy on, and it won't come to anything anyway. There's a go-ahead Eagles guy that might or might not be here. There's David Strelic, who plays with Slovan Bratislava, who got knocked out, his dad has been speaking in the press. There is a guy at Feyenoord. There's all sorts of guys.
It always pops up, doesn't it?
So who knows? As is often the case at Celtic, actually, the guys that we do sign are guys that haven't been on the radar anywhere. You see an announcement, bang, that's done. And I'm really hoping that there's a handful of announcements if and when we qualify, but we'll see how we go. But Brydo, as I mentioned at the top of the piece, big week ahead. What's your final thoughts?
Yeah, it's a massive week, and I think we've essentially got to park the negativity at the door on Wednesday night, and just do what we always do, especially on the big occasions, is we go there and we make enough noise to hopefully just blow a team like Almaty away. So that's what our job is as fans. I think we need to remember that, which I think to be quite frank, I think we've actually been really understanding over the piece. The transfers will happen. The transfers will happen. I'm kind of similar to James now as well. I think we've kind of resigned ourselves. Well, when they're going to happen, they'll happen. There's no point in spending more energy on it, to be quite frank. So it's a massive game. We all know what the reward is at the end of it. I'm sure the manager will have the players ready for it as well. And like most fans, I think we need to have a solid performance that gives us a real good advantage going into the away leg in Kazakhstan. So it's a very, very important week for the club.
Yeah. James Biggie, on Wednesday night, your own final thoughts?
Yeah, just that. We like to get involved in all the peripheral issues around Celtic, but at the end of the day, it's just about football, and that's all I'm interested in for the next 13 days. Will take us up to the Rangers game, and that's going to take in Champions League qualifiers, keeping on in the league, Livy at home, Rangers are away, no gimme.
No.
And then see where we are after the Champions League qualifier. Transfers may or may not happen that week, and then you've got the Rangers game on the Sunday. So I think it's a really exciting period, and it's why we follow Celtic.
Yeah, exactly that. It's, all else aside, football-wise, there's lots to look forward to, and let's see how it all goes, starting this week against Almaty. So that's all on this latest episode of Celtic Exchange Weekly. Thanks to James and Brydo for being here, and thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back on Patreon tomorrow with the pre-match show for Kairat Almaty, and then again with the final whistle on Thursday. And if you want to enjoy all of that, plus everything else we do on Patreon, then check it all out at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. But in the meantime, have a brilliant week. We'll see you all again for the next one.